So hi guys, welcome back to the online membership. I have another great yoga flow for you today. So this is going to be one for the hips. Now, not only are the hips so important to your health, and obviously depending on your age, you may find that your hips are a problem area. And also depending on how much you focus on the hips, quite a lot of pain and discomfort and tightness actually comes from weakness as opposed to a tight muscle that is overworked. So this is going to be a hip opener sequence that not only works on that, but actually the hips are also said to carry quite a lot of emotion. And when it comes to a hip opener class or flow, what you can find is that sometimes it does release some emotional, it has a bit of an emotional release or releases some emotional tension. So let's get started. So we're going to begin our yoga flow with a little bit of breath work to get ourselves prepared and into the right frame of mind for this yoga flow practice. But what I am going to encourage you is to already start to open out the hips. So grab yourself a cushion, maybe a low little poof, or if you've got yoga blocks, so you can pop them underneath. And you can literally just place them onto your yoga mat and just sit your bottom onto them. And what that does is it just changes the angle when you're sitting. So if you generally find that sitting kind of cross-legged can be a little uncomfortable, then you can use your blocks and it will probably help you to really open out through the legs and the hips. So you can see, I'll show you the difference. Now, not a massive difference because you probably know I'm super flexible, but there is a difference in how the angle of my leg sits when I sit on these. Plus, it takes a huge amount of pressure out of my hips, and at the moment my hips are super tight. So it's definitely a practice that I'm looking forward to today. So soften the body, take any little wiggles that you need to take right now to make sure you're nice and comfortable, and then relax the shoulders, relax the hips, the legs, the arms. Take those last little wiggles as you begin to close the eyes. And with the eyes closed, I want you to start to bring yourself inward. And what I mean by that is beginning to focus on your breath. Now, what tends to happen as we close the eyes and we lose the distractions around us is the mind can become quite busy. And you might find this that when you're just about to go off to sleep, suddenly lots of thoughts come into your mind. And you think, wow, how inconvenient this is. But often it's because there's no distractions, and it's a bit like trying to start on a meditation journey. So I want you to observe those thoughts, however, not get involved in them. So almost like a bystander. You can listen in and then just gently guide your mind back onto your breath. And I want you to notice how your breath is today. Is it smooth? Is it a little bumpy in places? Is it maybe a little rough in places? And now if you were to count your inhale and your exhale, how do they differ? Or are they the same? So for your next 4 breaths, I want you to take them nice and slow, and I want you to equalize them. So what I mean by that is taking a breath in for a count of maybe 4, and then breathing out for the same count. So maybe you've observed your breath and you know what number to go for, and then take those 4 inhales and exhales. And just finishing your last exhale right about now. And then starting to bring a little tiny bit of movement through the fingers and the toes. Just deepening the breath a little bit, bringing a bit more energy and oxygen into the body. And then maybe starting to stretch a little bit as you softly start to just flutter the eyes, the eyelashes, open a little bit. Maybe now you want to just stretch out a little through the arms. And let's get moving. So it's not just the hips we're going to work on today, although that's the big focus for us. We want to make sure that the supporting areas and the body as an entirety feels like it's been nourished and looked after within this practice. So we're actually going to start with a little bit of movement, just reaching over to the sides. Now the option is to stay sitting on whatever you're sitting on right now, or you can remove the blocks, cushions, whatever you're placed on at the moment, and move them to one side. And then what you're going to do is you're going to place your right fingertips down to the ground, and it may be that it's just literally the fingertips. And then from here, you're going to take a breath in, reach the left arm up overhead, and you're going to reach over to that right side. Probably by this point, you can place your palm down on the ground. Breathe out here. Take a nice big breath in, still reaching over to that right side. Another breath out. One more breath in. And then you're going to exhale that arm all the way down. So swapping over, left fingertips down, right arm reaches up on an inhale. Exhale as you come down to that left palm and reach the right fingertips away to that left side. Take a breath in. Breathe out, reach over. One more breath in. And then exhale that right arm all the way back down. From here, we're going to take some little tiny cat-cow movements through the spine. Obviously, the spine just sitting kind of above the hips, super, super important. We look after the back as well. All the areas of the body are connected. So I'm going to come off my blocks because I'm going to come to the side to just show you this movement, but feel free to stay on your blocks, cushions, whatever you're sat on. And all you're going to do is just bring your hands onto your knees. And we're going to do a tiny little bit of curvature of the spine. So as you take a breath in, you're going to send the chest forwards and look up. So you're creating a little nice curve through the spine. And then as you exhale, you're going to round out, bring the chin towards the chest. Breathe in, chest forwards, look up. Breathe out, round out, chin to chest. You're going to do 2 more of these to your own breath. The movement can be as little or as big as you want it to be. So just finishing off that second one now. And then coming all the way back up to a nice tall seated position. From here, we're actually going to come over onto all fours. So if you just sweep your right leg out to the side, come to join the left, and then you can walk the hands round and then just gently bring yourself up onto all fours. So from here, you're going to take the knees a little bit wider. Usually we stack them under the hips. And instead, we're going to do some circles leading with the hips. So the hips are going to lead the movement. And we're going to take, again, as little or as big a circle as feels good for your body today. Now, this feels for me quite tight in the hips, but it also feels good. Feels like it's targeting that area, kind of warming that area up a little bit. Now take that movement to the other side. Nice and controlled. You're going to take one more rotation. And then you're going to bring the knees back in underneath the hips. So just check in that the fingers at the front here are nice and spread. That's going to give you more balance. And also that roughly kind of the wrists are underneath the shoulders and knees just roughly underneath the hips. So we're going to work on a controlled articular rotation of the hip. Now this is quite a challenging one, so please don't be alarmed if your movement's quite small, and don't be alarmed if you hear some clicking and clacks and crunches. As long as there's no pain in the movement, then you're absolutely fine. But also just listen in. If there's a little bit of discomfort, just assess that. If it's a bit of discomfort but feels like you're getting release, then you can continue. If it feels like pain, then you should definitely slow that movement down, reduce it, or stop it. So that first positioning, and actually we're going to tuck the toes under for this one just for extra balance, because we're going to be lifting one of the legs up. So I'm going to start with the left leg here so that you can see it on the camera, and basically we're going to lift the left leg up behind with a 90-degree angle at the knee. We're then going to take that knee out to the left side, and we're going to start to bring it forwards. So it almost looks a little bit like a dog peeing. I'm sorry there's no more glamorous ways of talking about it. From here, still keeping control in the arms and the hips, you're going to bring that knee towards the elbow and then circle it back down. So we're trying to do a circle movement, and actually I'm finding myself shifting over to this right side, so you really want to keep a strong foundation. And if you're finding yourself leaning, maybe just reduce the size of that sort of rotation. So let's go again, lifting the left leg up, that 90-degree angle at the knee, taking it out to the left side, bringing it up towards that elbow, and then circling it all the way back down. We're going to go on to the other side. So again, just trying to keep as stable a foundation as you can. There will be a little bit of shift and movement in the body, and that's fine. So right leg comes up behind, 90-degree angle. From here, we take the knee out to the right side, and then we're going to bring it up towards the elbow and circle it all the way down. So again, just making sure you're listening. One side may vary. Quite often you will have differences from side to side, and that's absolutely normal. So let's go again. Lifting up, taking the knee out to the side, bringing it up towards the elbow, circling it down. We're going to do one more. Lifting up, knee to the side, coming up towards the elbow, circling it down. So this movement can be done the opposite way as well, so you can come forwards and out. So if you do want to do a little bit more, you can also do it standing as well. Then check out my mini series that is called CARS, hip CARS. They're controlled articular rotations. It's just CARS is an abbreviation for a fancy description, but you can check that out and you can do a little bit more with that if you want to progress that move a little bit more. So from here, you're actually just going to extend the left leg behind you, and we're going to pop ourselves onto the ball of the foot and just rock back and forwards, creating some little pulses. So we're just stretching down through the back of the leg. Just making sure you're still checking in with your breathing. And a couple of other pointers is also just making sure that the belly is drawn in towards the spine, and that you're not flaring the ribs and kind of lifting the hips up in this. You want to keep a nice neutral position here. You're going to do two more, and then draw that knee back in. And then extend the right leg out behind you. Come onto the ball of the foot, and again, just those little rocks, forwards and back, nice and controlled. Continue to breathe. I'm going to do 2 more, and then bring that knee all the way back in. From here, you're going to walk the knees forwards, and then walk the hands back as you sit down onto your heels. We're going to come back into sitting onto our seat bones, so bring the feet through, come back onto the seat bones, and actually from here, if I just shift myself around, we're actually going to come into our Baddha Konasana, or a bound ankle pose. So this pose, we've got the soles of the feet together, and what I'm going to encourage you to do is, if this move is new to you, you may have some tightness in the hip region, the thighs, the legs. So this pose may be a little bit tight on the legs. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is actually to use your blocks or cushions, or you could use your arms. You could also use maybe a dressing gown cord that you could wrap around, or a belt or a yoga belt you could use around the legs here. And then what you can do is you can actually prop the legs with these blocks. Now, the best thing to do is find a kind of fleshier part of the body, so the thighs, and actually just place those blocks in. You want to find a nice, tall torso, so sitting up nice and tall, and I can feel this today. Usually I probably wouldn't use blocks, but actually today, for sure, I feel like I need them. And that's really important, to listen into your body. So all we're doing here is sitting up tall. You can place your hands onto your feet, your ankles, your legs, your thighs, whatever feels comfortable. And you just want to be sitting up as tall as possible. Again, belly drawn in towards the spine. And also really important to bring the ribs in and not allow them to flare. I want you to take some breaths here. And hopefully with each exhale, you can soften a little bit through the thighs, the hips, as the muscle fibers start to release a little bit. And that's the really great benefit of holding poses for a little bit longer, is that sometimes the muscle fibers can be really tight and taut. And then as you hold that pose for longer, they understand, essentially, talk about them as if they're people, but essentially then your body tells those muscle fibers that it's okay, they don't need to worry, and they can relax a little bit and maybe go a little further. So there's a protection mechanism of usually pain and tightness, which kind of stops us from being able to hold that pose for a bit longer, or kind of makes us think we can't. But as we hold and breathe, we quite often find gradually we get a bit more mobility as we sit with that pose. So I'm going to get you to take 2 more nice deep breaths. And then from here, gently take hold of the knees, and you can just bring the knees back together, and you can again just pop your blocks off to one side. From here, we're going to extend the left leg out, leave the right leg placed on the ground. So firstly, just sitting up nice and tall. And if you were to imagine the pelvis was like a bowl, you almost want to be tipping that bowl forwards as opposed to back. When I tilt the pelvis back, I become kind of hunched over in the back and the shoulders. When I tip it forwards, it actually becomes this nice tall posture here. So from here, take hold of the ankle and the knee of your right leg, and you're going to step that over the left leg that you have extended. So what I want you to do is, there's something called passive stretching, and And passive stretching is essentially where you're assisting that stretch. So the fact that I'm holding onto this leg, or I kind of catch hold of it, becomes a passive stretch where I am taking the body to its end range of movement with assistance, kind of that passive stretch. What we want to do is make it a more active stretch, and that active stretch uses more muscles, so it's more tiring, so you're going to feel it a little bit more, but we will have the safety net of that you can always come out of the pose, and that you can then use a more passive approach to the stretch if need be. So an active stretch is actually if you release the knee but keep it where it was. So if you were to hug it in a little bit close to the body and then release it, and you're trying to still hold it in that position, you'll feel the muscles turn on all through the outer side of the leg. When you take hold of it, they release. When you release the leg, you can feel those muscles switch on and tighten and hold that pose there. So I just want you to do that a couple of times, ranging from a passive stretch, holding, and then trying to keep the same movement there, the same posture, the same distance between the leg and your body, just using those muscles. Great thing to do is breathe into that. Maybe it feels a little tight, a little shaky, and that's okay. So let's take hold of that leg, and we're going to make this pose a lot more passive by actually adding a bit of rotation into the movement. So just checking in that your right foot is placed on the ground. You're then going to take your left arm, you're going to hug it in, so it's going to become more passive, and the right arm's going to come behind, and you're just twisting the torso off to that right side, and you're either looking to the right side or looking over the right shoulder. You're going to pause here and just take 3 deep breaths. Once you've finished those 3 breaths, you're going to start to return back to the center. Bring the right hand back in, left hand on the ankle, and then step the leg back over and extend. And we're going to do the same onto the left side. So take a moment to just adjust the hips, get that nice tilt of the pelvis coming forward, nice tall posture through the upper body. And then when you're ready, take a bend through the left knee, take hold of the left ankle and the left knee, and then step it over the right leg. So again, we're going to work on that passive and active stretch. So firstly, starting with us just drawing that knee in towards the body, holding it there for a moment, and then releasing it and trying not to move that leg too much, trying to hold it there with muscle power, pressing that foot down into the ground and drawing it in towards us. Take the hands back onto the leg, pause for a moment, and just checking that you're not holding your breath. Temptation quite often is, as you're holding something, a strong pose is sometimes to hold the breath, but actually you're then not fueling your body with oxygen, which is really, really important for exercise and for sort of keeping yourself going. So let's go again. Release the leg, breathe. You're going to take one more breath and then bring the hands back in. We'll do one more hold. So release the leg, pause and hold. And then we're going to take that right arm in, bringing the knee into the elbow crease. Left arm comes behind or to the side, and you're just twisting the torso off to the left side and bringing the gaze either over to the left side or maybe even all the way over the left shoulder. Again, breathing, you're going to take 3 deep breaths. You're going to come back around to the center slowly. Take hold of the ankle and the knee, step it back over, and then you can extend the legs out. From here, we're going to take a moment to just do a little forward fold. So sit yourself up nice and tall. If you're really tight through the legs, you can take a little bit of a bend and just slop cushions, blocks, blankets, rolled up yoga mat underneath the legs here. And that will just release some of the tension in the back of the legs. Also, if you feel that you're not getting that nice tall posture, you could do this from sitting on a block. So you can, or a cushion, you can actually bring yourself up onto something a little higher. And sometimes by just kind of sitting almost a little on the edge of that higher block or cushion helps to bring the pelvis a little forward, and then you can fold forwards from here. I'm not going to do that because my block's a little uncomfortable underneath my seat bones, so I'm going to come back down. So we're going to take a breath in, we're going to reach the arms up overhead. Breathe out, reach up. Take another breath in. And as you breathe out, you're going to start to fold forwards and hinge from the hips. Bring the hands down towards the legs. And they can be either side of the legs, on the legs themselves. Or if you're super flexy, you might find that you can reach towards the toes or the ankles or the feet. From here, I want you to then round out through the shoulders and drop the crown of the head down towards the legs. So wherever you are, whether it's just a little forward fold or a really deep forward fold, just listen into your body today. And again, I want you to take 3 deep breaths here. And then once you've taken those 3 deep breaths, just start to lift the head, bring it back into alignment with the spine, and then walk the hands back in towards the body. From here, I'm just twisting myself around just so I can show you again. If you've got blocks or cushions, I'm going to suggest you pop them just either side of you for a moment in preparation. So from here, we're going to roll down onto the ground, and you've got 2 options. You can do a really nice gentle stage of walking the hands back, coming down onto the forearms, and then coming down onto your back with bent knees. Or if you want something a little more active, you can extend the arms forwards and then use them as kind of a counterbalance as you draw the belly into the spine and just gently and slowly come all the way down onto your back. So take a moment to just adjust the hips and walk the feet in a little bit closer to the hips. From here, you're going to draw the knees into the chest for a moment. Just take hold of the knees with the hands and just gently rock from side to side. And then you're going to take hold of each knee, open the legs up a little bit, take them a little wider, and then you're going to draw circles. And it might be that the big toes are touching at this point. So this movement again can be as little or as big as you want it to be today. We're going to take that movement in the other direction. And then come to a still position in the middle here. So I want you to literally hug the knees towards the shoulders. So they're a little more open. And you can feel a slight openness through the hips. Then from here, you're going to take the arms inside the knees, and you're going to catch hold of the outside of the feet. So your hands will come, palms will come over the top of your feet, fingers underneath the feet. So you can stay here and just gently rock from side to side. Or you can lift the legs, bring them up, the soles of the feet towards the ceiling, and then you can rock from side to side in what's known as happy baby. So you could do circles, semicircles, or you can just gently rock from side to side. And hopefully you can feel a nice openness, stretching coming through the hips into the inner thighs. And it doesn't have to be that the feet are lifted. You could continue with just rocking from side to side, holding the feet here lower. You're going to take one more breath and then lower the legs if they're lifted. Release the feet and then bring the knees back in. You're just going to hug the knees in towards the chest and just take 2 nice deep breaths. And then lower the feet down towards the hips, down towards the ground. And this is where your blocks are going to come in handy. So I'm going to take mine onto sort of the medium height level. So you've got kind of a high height, you've got a lower height and a medium height with these blocks, which is always helpful. They can be very versatile. So we're going to bring them in a little closer. And from here, you're going to keep the feet really nice and close together. So the feet are going to literally sit side by side, touching. What we're then going to do is we're going to start to open out the knees, and you can bring the hands in for a little bit of support if you want to. And then you're going to start to basically bring the soles of the feet together. So it may be that you shift a little bit as you lower. And then you're going to use the blocks just to place, again, on kind of a fleshier part of the legs, to just place them underneath as we do, again, another little Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose, but this time reclined, laying down. Hands can be on the belly, and that can feel really good for just feeling the movement of your breath. So maybe close the eyes for a moment. And as you breathe in, feel the belly expand, fill up with air and oxygen. And as you exhale, feel the belly contract. As you're breathing in, feel your body filling up with some amazing, great energy and positivity. And as you breathe out, feel the body releasing, relaxing, and letting go. You're going to take one more really, really big breath as you start to softly open the eyes, take in the space around you, and release that breath. Take a moment to just enjoy the space around you. And then slowly bring the hands in to the thighs and just gently help the legs come back into bent knees, soles of the feet on the ground. From here, we're going to gently come onto our side. So if you shift the hips to the right, roll onto the left side. Right palm can come down. And then gently press through that right palm. Bring yourself all the way back up. And you are all done. So thank you so much for joining me for this yoga flow for your hips. A real nice hip opener to not only work on releasing tension, maybe whether that's physically within the hip area or even mentally with some of that emotional release that you can get from this hip area. I also hope that it brings you a little bit of exercises for increasing your mobility and also the strength within the hip area, which, as I said at the start, is really important because sometimes hip tightness is more about not having the muscle power. It's more about weakness in that area as opposed to tightness from overwork. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know how you get on with this, and I hope to see you on the next video very soon. Have a great day, guys. Take care. Bye.